Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and been looking forward to our guest this morning for quite some time. Dean Sikes is with us. He's the author of You Matter, Finding Hope and Meaning in Everyday Life. Since 1993, Dean has traveled the world and spoke to more than 4,200 events, sharing a powerful message of hope with teenagers. He hosts a national broadcast, You Matter Television, and has written over 32 books to encourage teens and their families. And there's a picture of that book on the screen. He does have a website, youmatter.us, and you can check that out as well, youmatter.us. Dean, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Hey, good morning. So happy to be with you this morning.
Thank you. Where are you? Where are we getting you from?
I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, southeast Tennessee.
Oh, good for you. All right. Well, come to Oregon and we'll teach you how to fish.
You know what? I'm going to take you up on that. I would thoroughly enjoy doing that.
Okay. Good to see you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your work. I've been looking forward to having you for quite some time. What prompted you to write You Matter? What's going on here?
Yeah, you know, we have just invested the last almost 34 years now of my being on the road, speaking in high schools across America and in nations around the world, sharing this, what we call You Matter message of hope. It's a message that says God loves you. He's got a plan for your life. And because you're breathing, you matter. And, you know, over the last, I don't know, almost 3 decades now, we have really seen a dramatic increase in teenage suicide attempts. Every day in America, 5,600 teenagers attempt to end their life. To give you a visual, in an arena that seats 12,000 people, that arena would fill up every 2.5 days with teenagers who in the previous 60 hours had bought the lie. And so the Lord really just put it on my heart to just deal with it directly. The You Matter message it started out as a message, it became a mission, which became a movement. And the book is just something that it encapsulates the message of why you matter. It's one thing to know that you do matter. It's much more important, in my view, to understand why. And it's all birthed out of 16 words that comprise Job 33:4 that says, the Spirit of God made you, and the breath of the Almighty gives you life. So when teenagers asked me as early as yesterday, I was in Illinois, they said, why do you say that we matter? And I just smile and go, you're breathing. That's why you matter. And so, you know, we're seeing literally hundreds of teenagers choose not to end their life after hearing this message of hope, getting a copy of the book. And just last night, we did an event after a number of assemblies yesterday. A lot of teenagers came together at what we call Evenings of Hope. And we had 127 teenagers get born again last night after hearing a very simple message that we share. And so that's what gave birth to it. Now we're on this just mission to get this book into the hand to as many students as possible.
That's wonderful. Again, youmatter.us is a website, and check out the book. So, Dean, how did the Charlie Cook assassination impact what you're doing?
You know, I think it really heightened awareness that we live in a dangerous world, and that in a split second everything can change. And you know, teenagers are infamous for living life like they have the entirety of their life ahead of them, and we believe that, of course. But in any moment, your life can change. It happened, you know, for me, when I saw what I saw and the assassination take place. Instantly, I just knew that there was going to be a real significant attention focus on young people. In his world, it was the college campuses. In our world, it's high school campuses. And there's certainly a lot of students are very much keenly aware of just the brevity of life.
Yeah.
And I believe in large part, this awareness is what's causing so many students to really respond even more than ever before. Last week, we were in North Carolina doing this and did an Evening of Hope, and just saw just significant numbers of students make decisions to follow God and to kind of get serious about their life, realizing that, you know, life is a vapor, and it can change in a heartbeat.
Are you sensing and seeing that young people really are hungry? I mean, they really are seeking something different, and they can handle the truth of the gospel?
Yes, it's encouraging to me. It's motivating to me, because what we're seeing is, you know, teenagers listen with their eyes. They're a visual generation, and they live on social media. And so what we have done in our ministry and in our outreach is in the last 25 months, we've had 169 million views of our videos on social. And we've invested a lot of resources into creating the content to invite teenagers on this journey with us. Because what we're discovering more and more every day is teenagers don't necessarily want to talk to a parent, to a teacher, to somebody like me necessarily, but they desperately need to be heard and they desperately need to be seen. Because if they do not feel seen or heard, they go down this path where they wrongly believe that their life doesn't matter. And so what I'm encouraging, I speak at a lot of churches on the weekends, and I encourage parents to be available, to turn the telephone off, put your phones down, and engage in conversation. They go, I don't know how to talk to my kid. I go, well, start with questions. How was your day? What was your high today? What was your low today? And because students today, students who are literally all over America, there's a major, I see, hunger for truth. That they don't want religion. They're looking for relationship. That's why we had the response we had last night.
So authenticity is everything, obviously.
Well, that's a great way of saying it. Yes, sir.
Okay, so to the core of this, which is really kind of hard to process, is the suicide rate among young people and the increase. Can you tell us why?
Hopelessness. The word of God is very clear. Without a vision, people perish. So you could say, with a vision, you could change society. And so, show me a teenager who does not have his or her vision identified. You know, destiny's purposes are not ours to decide; they're ours to discover. And so, a lot of teenagers are. You know, I'll ask them in assemblies, "What do you know? Let's go forward 5 years. Where do you see yourself?" And the number one answer I get is, "I don't know. I just hadn't thought about it." So I'm there to help them think about it and encourage them that, you know, it's a very competitive world out there, and you've got to not only discover why you're here, but if you really want to see success come to that discovery, you also got to get into the Word of God and find yourself in Scripture and verse. For point of example, I'm called to Ezekiel 3:10 and 11 with a mandate of Proverbs 24:11 with a message of Job 33:4, all for the purpose of 2 Timothy 4:5. I know why I get to do these interviews. That's what I try to get students to understand. The more you get into the Word, the more the Word will get into you. And that's when your life will change. And so when students live on social media, they're constantly comparing, they're constantly counting their likes. And I share this with parents and I share it with students every day. If you're still counting your likes, you really have no idea how much you're loved, because those likes change. I never look at our likes. I look at our views. That's what I'm interested in. And I see a lot of adults who, you know, invest a lot of their time or spend a lot of their time on social media trying to find some level of success in life, because how many people are following them or how many people are retweeting what they say, when in reality, in my view, it's all about how's our relationship with the Lord? What are we doing to make a difference in the lives of other people? And are we available to our kids?
Suicide is tough to deal with, and I know you've been touched by it. I have too. I guess my concern is, or my question is, young people, I don't know what they get to the point that, do they think that it's just a temporary thing? Do they understand it's permanent?
I have talked, you know, with a lot of students who've attempted, and I've listened, because in listening, you invite the teenager into a conversation that he or she can kind of dictate how it goes. And what I've heard from so many students is they got to a place of such hopelessness that they just did not believe there was any way out, and they felt like they would just be better off not being here, and that if they aren't here, no one would miss them. And many, I mean, hundreds of kids that I've talked with after they've attempted said to me, there was this dark, I would call ominous, evil presence in their mind, and it was just kind of shutting down their mind. And when you get into that place where you just believe wrongly that your life doesn't matter, the enemy comes in to do what? To steal, to kill, and to destroy. He's very crafty. He knows what he's doing. We, as a ministry, as an outreach, are constantly just sharing truth, that you're loved, that you were created on purpose and with purpose and for purpose. I had a young man just yesterday, Perry, who said to me, he said, you know, several weeks ago, maybe it was a couple months ago, he said that he had a gun in his hand, had his finger on the trigger, and he just couldn't finish it. And he looked at me and said, you told me today that my life matters. He said, now I understand why I didn't do it. A couple of days ago, I was in Alabama, and a young man walked up to me, and he handed me a pen, a writing pen. I go, thanks. He goes, you don't understand. That's the pen that I used to write my suicide note. I can't go through with what I wrote. You told me that my life matters, and I just wanted you to have the pen. We have a bag full of stuff like that the students have very graciously given to us because they've heard the truth. And when we hear truth, truth does what truth does. It sets people free.
Your story with your mom is a tough one, and yet God's using it obviously now with you. But are you comfortable sharing that?
Oh, sure. I share it every day. Let me say this to all of the people who are watching. I believe what I'm getting ready to say with every fiber in my body. I believe that what we overcome in life oftentimes becomes our platform. Just to kind of give you the quick version of my life, I think all of our lives are comprised of what I call defining moments. They'd be great moments, could be really challenging moments. For me, a defining moment happened when I was 7 years old. That's when I became a Christian. At 15, another defining moment. I was sexually abused, and 60 seconds changed my life. At 17, I failed PE. I made the choice. I'm not dressing out. I'm not going to get hurt again like I was when I was 15, even though I played quarterback, taught tennis, and played golf. I made a vow at 15 years old. I will never tell anybody what happened to me. 21 years old, I had spent the last 6 years lying. I lied more than I told the truth. I didn't like me, so there's no way I thought anyone could like me. What does the Bible say? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, if I don't love me, I can't love you. And so I created this image that I thought people would enjoy and like, and they did, but it was a lie. So finally at 21, I was through. I had whatever society says makes you successful, and I was miserable. Nothing fulfilled me, because I believe born into every person is a space wholly and completely reserved for God through his son, Jesus. So one day I'd been in church all my life, went to church every time the doors were open, but I did not know God. Even though I'd become a Christian at 7, I just kind of put that relationship on the shelf and said, I'm going to go live life. At 21, I said a prayer. I said, God, if you're real, and by the way, I don't think you are, and I feel really stupid talking to the wind, but if you are real, and if you have a plan for my life, prove it. And I tell teenagers, don't ever ask God, the creator of the universe, to prove to you that he's real unless you're ready. And 2 weeks later, without any warning whatsoever, I was sitting in my office dialing a phone, and off behind me to my left, I heard someone say, call mom. And I dialed. As I looked around, I saw no one, but the hair on the back of my neck knew to call my mom. I dialed my parents' phone number. The phone rang 7 times. On the 8th ring, she said hello. And when she said hello, instantly I knew something was really wrong. Her voice was slurred. She was disoriented. She did not sound like herself at all. And I was about to learn God, who was so very real, when he spoke to me, and I heard him. And he said, call mom. And I did so. My mother was attempting suicide.
Whoa.
I could hear the life leaving her body. She was dying. I ran out of my office, drove up Interstate 75, drove into their neighborhood, got to my parents' home. I had prayed a prayer that would not have won any theological awards. I just said, help, I can't save my mom. My mom came down some stairs, opened her front door, fell into my arms. I picked her up, carried her to her car, drove her to a hospital. She said to me as we drove, Dean, I can't be dying. I said, Mom, you're not going to die, but you're going to have to choose to live. And Perry, I believe the most important word in that sentence is not live, but choose. The Bible's very clear. Choose you this day who you're going to serve. Get her to a hospital. The doctor threw me against the wall, rushed her to the ER. 45 minutes later, this emergency room doc who had 4 years of college, 4 years of med school, 2 years of residency, and years of practicing medicine walked over to my dad and I, and he said this, there's no medical reason to tell you what I'm getting ready to tell you. It's a, quote, miracle of God. Your wife is fine. You can go see her. I heard miracle of God. I froze, looked straight up and went, you've got to be kidding me. You're real? And I went on a walk by myself. And I could take you to the spot in Park Ridge Hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I leaned against this long hallway. And I had an encounter with Jesus. From the top of my head to the soles of my feet, I was being changed from the inside out.
Wow. Beautiful. I got a load of questions, so let me take a break. We'll come back. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, where can they get the book, Dean?
youmatter.us is a quick way to do it. They can Amazon. It's right there. All I do is go in and do that quick little search on Amazon's search bar. You Matter.
It'll pop up. Where's your television broadcast?
It's on Victory Network. Brother Kenneth Copeland has a TV network, and we're part of that network. So it goes all over the world 4 days a week.
Yeah. Maybe I ought to get it on the Dove TV.
I know I'd love to do. I was when we got off air, I was going to have that conversation with somebody.
I'm the guy.
Well, then, Perry, you and I should have a conversation because that broadcast is helping a lot of students.
All right. You give me a call back in a couple of hours. That'd be great. All right, let me take a quick break. YouMatter.us. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and delighted to have with us Dean Sikes. He's the author of You Matter, Finding Hope and Meaning in Everyday Life. There's a picture of the cover of the book. You can certainly get that online, but you can go to youmatter.us and you can get it there. His outreach to young people, and in particular high schools, he's done over 4,200 events and just active even last night, so this is pretty active. Dean, you're fascinating. So, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question, but is somebody who is attempting suicide in their right mind?
That's a really intriguing question to talk about. I believe that the people who move towards ending their life have become so full of pain. And what does pain do? It seeks pleasure. What do hurting people do but hurt other people? And oftentimes they hurt themselves. You know, one of the things that I was thinking about recently was I did a big Christian convention in Texas, and there were thousands of students there. And when it was over, a young lady walked up to our table, and she began to just kind of unpack her story. And she was 14 years old. And after talking and sharing her story with me, I just listened. And she said, "Can I show you my arm?" And I said, "Yeah." She pulled her sleeve back and revealed that on her wrist she'd been cutting herself, self-harm. And she said, "You told me that my life matters." I said, "Yes, sweetheart, it does matter." She says, "Do you really believe that?" I said, "Actually, I go beyond believing it. I know it." And I told her again why, out of Job 33:4. And she goes, "I want to give you something." I said, "Okay." And she pulled out of her backpack her blood-stained razor blade. She said, "I don't want to hurt myself anymore." And I said, "Megan," her name was Megan. I said, "Megan, why do you hurt yourself?" And Perry, this is the answer she gave me to answer your question. She says, "I hurt myself to stop the pain." And I've shared that story in South Africa, South Australia, Russia, England, all over America, hundreds and hundreds of times. And without fail, every single time a teenager says to me that they hurt themselves, and I ask them why, 100% of the time they give me the same answer: "I hurt myself to stop the pain." So are they in their right mind? I don't think they are. I think they are really leaning into the pain. They're trying to escape the pain. They're being truly managed by the devil himself. One of the simple things I share with students is, God did not need your help getting into this thing called life, and he does not need your help getting out of it. When it's your time to go, he knows how to get you. He knows how to get you home. You're here on purpose. And that's the message. You're here with a purpose. You're here for purpose. That's the fact that you're breathing. I mean, let's identify some things that make your life special. And so, I've learned in 4,300 times of doing this, if to the degree that we can, I stay as long as I can at every school and just sit and listen to students talk. Then somebody grabs me and says, "We got to go to the next school," so I got to go. But it's just they want to, like I said earlier, they need to be heard and they got to be seen.
Bible says no one lives by himself or dies by himself. And suicide impacts everybody. I mean, you may think in your state of being that you're eliminating pain, but you're creating a whole nother wave of pain outside of you. And that now requires a whole nother level of care and counseling. How do you address that?
Yeah, and I talk about that. I share with students that, this is not just you. And, yesterday alone, in a small rural community in Illinois, we had, over the course of 2 assemblies, we had 59 teenagers say, "I'm not going to end my life after hearing your message." So there were 59 kids sitting in assemblies yesterday that literally they were ready to end their lives. And so I share with students from stage that while this is you think a singular act that's just going to affect you, this is going to affect people for conceivably a generation. I mean, it's not just your family, it's the family, it's your friends, it's those people who are truly, whether you see it, feel it, or experience it, they do love you. You are loved.
Right.
And so, I talk about because of what had happened to me at 15, the sexual abuse, I made that vow, I'll never tell anybody what happened. 22 years later, I'm walking in a Home Depot. I walk down aisle 21 and I turn right and I walk right into the person who had abused me. And Perry, my life unraveled. I mean, it unraveled. I was on television. I was major networks. I was bouncing all over the world speaking. I couldn't function. And I got into a Christian counselor's office and I was asked this question: will you forgive the person who hurt you when you were 15? I said, no, not even maybe. Great Christian answer, right? He goes, why not? I goes, it's not fair. I did nothing wrong. And then the question was posed that, again, changed my life. Was the cross fair? And so I took 3 or 4 days, got by myself, got my Bible out, prayed, talked with the Lord, listened. I didn't go to the person, but I went to God and I forgave. And I would love to tell you that angels were doing high fives in my office and my life changed immediately and everything was just dramatically different. None of that happened. I felt nothing different. In fact, I felt kind of ridiculous, but faith isn't about feelings, it's about action. About 3 months later, I woke up one morning and I was free. And I tell students, the person who sexually abused me could walk into this arena, could sit down in front of me, it would not faze me in the least. Now, the thing that I said I would never do, I'll never tell anybody, every day of the year, whether it's on social media, television, in one of my books, or one of our events, that story is being told. Again, what you overcome becomes your platform.
Yeah.
And so I try to, and I think it's real important to identify this. There are a lot of great students out there who are doing wonderful things, who are really chasing after their dreams, following God, pursuing with great passion what it is they believe they're called to do. We all just need somebody to listen to us, somebody to care about us, and someone to go, you know what, you can do this.
Isn't that a James 5 thing, Dean? I mean, what I mean by that is, any sick among you, call for the elder church. But the next line says, confess your faults one to the other so that you may be healed.
Healed.
So that counselor drew that out of you and you became healed.
And when I went home the night that I had that moment at Home Depot, I had 2 of my kids with me. And my wife, Lori, she looked at me when I got home. She said, what's wrong? I said, no, not right now. We put our kids to bed. We went outside on our front porch. And I said, 22 years ago, something happened to me. I've never had the guts to tell anybody. I said I was sexually abused. And today I ran into the person. Lori, my wife's eyes filled with tears. She took 2 steps back where she says, honey, everything makes sense. We've got to get you help. My immediate response was, no, I'm fine. She goes, no, you're not fine. And I went, well, yeah, I am. She goes, Dean. And I realized it was pride. Pride was trying to stop me. She said, if you'd just been diagnosed with a sickness, would you go to a doctor? I said, yeah. She goes, no different. We're going to find you a counselor. And I was led to the right person. And that conversation lasted 11 years. And I carry in my iPad 11 years of notes.
That's beautiful.
Because he didn't care I was on television. He didn't care about my ministry. He cared about me. He just wanted me to get better.
Do you think the lack of value of human life in this culture is a contributing factor to teen suicide?
Absolutely. Yeah. Suicide is the fastest death on the planet today. It happens so fast. And when people do not value life and value the truth that when God created you, he did not go, oops, Jesus, come here. You will not believe what I just did. Oh, I missed this one. He created you and went, wow. And that's why I tell students, I hold my hand up. I go, if my hand is a mirror, do you see what God sees when you look in the mirror? And sadly, most of us don't. We see all the things we've done wrong. But what does God see? But God is love. It's not that he just gives us love. It's who he is. He created a family because he wanted someone to love. You and I would have no capacity to love or to receive love were we not created in his image. Mm-hmm. So when teenagers understand, I'm loved, I'm valued, my life has value, then they begin to really engage in the journey of discovering, well, what am I supposed to do with this thing called life?
Where does peer pressure come in?
Oh, it's peer pressure and bullying, I believe, are the top 2. And bullying isn't what it used to be. When the very first convention where I ever was the keynote speaker was in 1993. There were 600 students there, and I asked this question, how many of you have cell phones? 3 raised their hand. That means 597 did not. Today, in any place I go, 98+% of the students have their phone.
Okay.
And so bullying today does not look like it did in 1993 or 1963.
Cyberbullying.
No, that's it. You got it.
Yeah.
In 63, the three biggest challenges in public schools were teenagers running in the hallway, being late to class, and chewing bubblegum in class.
Right.
When prayer was taken out of the schools, come forward all these years later, 50 years later, and what do you have? You have bullying, gang violence, and school shootings. If you take God out of a God-centered society, you're left with a godless society, which then introduces John 10:10.
Yeah. I know we just scratched the surface. Can I get you back?
Oh, I would so enjoy this. Yeah, please.
Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out the website first, youmatter.us. There's a picture of the landing page right there, youmatter.us, very resourceful. And then order the book, You Matter, Finding Hope and Meaning in Everyday Life, by Dean Sikes. Dean, you got so much more in you. This is such an amazing topic, especially in today's culture and world. We'll get you back. We need to do more on this, and I need to squeeze your heart a little more.
Well, I have so enjoyed our time. Thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit of what we get to do in life.
All right, my team's going to give you some numbers and emails, and we'll connect later, okay?
I look forward to it, Perry. Thanks again.
All right, God bless.